Welcome to the Man in Motion podcast, episode 8. What's harder, enduring the struggle or asking for help? I'm Bob, and this is a show about what it means to be a man in today's world, navigating real life with strength, purpose, and clarity. We talk growth, responsibility, and the ongoing work of becoming without losing the core of who we are. I'm dumping the intro right now, guys. This is a different kind of episode. Today's not about theory. It's not about esoteric bullshit. I want to talk about a moment. Because sometimes as men, when we're struggling, the hardest part of that struggle, it's not the weight that we're carrying. It's what asking for help might cost us, whether it's perception or dignity or respect. I want to ask a question. What's harder, enduring the struggle or asking for help? My line that I like to use, it was given to me by my grandfather when I was a boy. It was ever forward. And I've really tried to embody that in these last few years. I had an interaction with an acquaintance of mine, a coworker. Not going to name names. I don't want to blow them up, but I think this story is too important to not talk about the situation. And I hope this individual is listening and he recognizes, because the interaction we had really made an impact on me. So he comes up to me in the parking lot, and we're isolated away from everyone else. And I could see as he's walking up to me that he's nervous because he's glancing around and he's kind of walking with a purpose. And I get out of my truck. I'm walking in, say hi to him, and he says, "Hey, I need the name of your podcast." Yeah, sure. So I have business cards that I keep with all the information on them. So I handed him one, and he's again, not going to give you the specifics of it, but he tells me that he's struggling with some stuff. And then this is the part that that really hit me. My wife Stacy, she we run the Madison's Path business together. We're partners in it. We run the Unstuck program together, and she's very vocal about her lane of the business. I'm very vocal about mine, and there's a fair amount of overlap, and we try to make it our job to be there to help whoever needs it. But this individual, he says to me, I didn't want to ask your wife for the information because I was afraid that she'd make fun of me. And that hit me like a slap. Not because I found it offensive, not because I think, how dare he think that of my wife. It was, here's a man who's hurting and reaching out for help, but he's afraid to be seen asking for help. He's worried about the cost of the help. Man, why the hell do we do this shit to ourselves, guys? Why? Why do we do this? Why do we put this bullshit on ourselves? And I'm not sitting here saying I'm any different. It hit me like a slap because I do the same fucking thing. And this interaction, I got to tell you, has really hit me. Now, what is that? What is that hesitation? What is that? Because I feel it. I felt it too. I feel it myself all the time. We've created this ideal that we need to be hyper competent. that no matter what's thrown at us, we need to just handle our shit and get down to it and do whatever needs doing, because that's what men do. And we don't talk about feelings, and we don't need help. And why? That shit doesn't serve us. I don't get it. I do get it, because I'm like I said, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it too. It surprises me that as an entire gender, we just do this. We all do the same thing. And then yesterday I had another interaction, and again, another acquaintance of mine. We're talking, and again, I won't give names or specifics, but the comment was made that, I'm gonna have to paraphrase it here because I don't want to give anything away. But the comment was made that he somehow didn't feel he was deserving of help, because somehow the thing he needed help with was lesser than what other people needed help with. And before I go any further, I want to be very clear on this, that I am so proud of these two men for standing up and saying that they needed help. And I'm so proud of them for having the courage to do that. That's huge. So, gentlemen, if you're listening, I think you'll both recognize who I'm referring to. That courage is huge. And it has made an impact. Why are we so hesitant to ask for help? And especially in the case of the first gentleman, my wife is well known in our circles for being helpful, for helping to lift people up and being motivational, and being kind about it. And yet he's still worried about how she would perceive that reaching out, and how much he felt the need to filter himself in front of her. I mentioned this to my wife, and the look on her face was just utter shock. Like, how could he feel this way? Because they know each other. Like, they talk, they joke around, they're friends as well. And the fact that he felt so worried to ask for help, even from her, there's this risk that we've placed on this emotional vulnerability as men. Ladies, you do this better. I it's one thing I got to say, that the ladies really get right about emotional processing, is that you're not afraid to ask for help. You're not afraid to vent. You're not afraid to offload. You're not afraid to say, I can't handle this, and bring your girlfriends in. I just I'm in awe of that. Men, we don't do that. I think this younger generation's better about it. I do. I think the younger generation's a little better about it than we are. But I also think some of that comes from guys like myself, where we are more aware of what we're doing in those regards. But I mean, what causes this? Is it experience? Is it just assumption? Or are we afraid of how others are going to see us? I think somewhere along the lines, hyper competence became expected. Do we worry about how women will look at us if we admit that we feel? I mean, that's an interesting question. So if any of you ladies that are watching this or listening to this, as it were, um, leave a comment. Leave me a comment, please. Tell me what you think about that question. If a man, and it could just be a friend, it doesn't have to be someone you're emotionally involved with. But if a man came up to you and confided in you, would that change how you saw him negatively, or would it change it positively, or would it just not change things at all? Would that earn respect? There's this thought that I just had. Is there a difference between controlled vulnerability and complete emotional collapse? And I think there is. And I think if I'm pretty sure that most men would feel like they were in a full emotional collapse when in fact they're just doing some targeted emotional vulnerability. Is this learned behavior, guys? Are we mistaking things that we were taught? I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about my grandfather and my father. And my father was, I'll say it delicately, he was a veteran who spent a fair amount of time in the Vietnam War, was drafted. Um, he had his issues. So I tend not to model on him emotionally much. So when I'm thinking of a solid, stable emotional foundation, I tend to think of my grandfather, my father's father. And he was stoic, but not unhealthily so. There were moments of affection, but it was very much a let's let's handle what needs to be handled, and then we'll deal with this when the time is right. And I'm wondering if other men had that same thing modeled for them, or if it was just movies and television, or fictional media, whatever, wherever it comes from. Are we trying to emulate something that never actually existed or that we misinterpreted? We're so worried as men about our image, and we work to protect our dignity. We work to protect how we're perceived. We work to protect our ideals, and we manage respect almost better than we manage money. It's not. It's almost like it's not an ego thing. It's like it's a survival thing. Like we're taught that this is what we need to do. I was supposed to have Stacy on here with me today, but life happens as it often does, and I was going to ask her some questions here. But the thing that's got me wondering, and this is a question I intended for Stacy, was what makes someone feel safe opening up to you, and do you think it's different for a man versus a woman? And I can't answer for the woman half, but I can speak as a man. I think it's the same thing that makes me feel people feel safe opening up to me. And it's that I don't judge. It's that I accept people as they are, as they present themselves to me, as they want me to perceive them, is how I choose to perceive them. And it's that lack of judgment, and that openness, and that willingness to have dialogue, about anything. And to be clear, I won't tell you, yes, I agree with you. I think you're absolutely right. You're amazing. If I think you're wrong, I'll tell you you're wrong, but I'll do it with respect and I'll make sure you understand that this is my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. And I respect your right to have your opinion, which is something I think the world's missing a lot of. But that's a whole nother topic. Um, Guys, why do we do this? How do we change this? That's really the crux of this whole show, this whole movement, the man in motion. It's more than just a podcast. But this is where it starts. And I don't know, guys. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know what the answer is going to be. I do know that this is the process. This is the journey. This is where we're at. And I'm going to be here walking it with you. And I hope you guys stick around with me. Because this is as much my journey as yours. I've said this repeatedly. I'm not a guru. I'm just as screwed up as the rest of you. I'm trying to figure this stuff out myself. Um, and when I'm talking, it's usually because this is where I'm at. This is what's going on in my life. And the process of constructing these gives me clarity as well as allows me to offer some insight to you guys. And reach out to me. You know, my information's up with the podcast. Shoot me an email, bob@madisonspath.com, and respond to me. Talk to me. Let me know what you think. You know, this isn't a one-sided conversation. And moreover, if you think you got something to say, let me know. I'll bring you on. I don't mind. I would love to have guests. I've got a couple that I've been trying to coordinate, and we can't get schedules to line up because, you know, that real life thing happening. Yeah. You know, I keep coming back to that first conversation a couple days ago. And the thing that strikes me about it is that he was making a call on what he believed the risk of him asking for help was. And I keep coming back to that. He was afraid to ask for help. This is a man who is more willing to struggle alone than to be seen struggling. Guys, being a man isn't just about enduring. It's about discernment. We have to learn when silence is strength versus when silence is just fear dressed up as strength. And the idea that maybe strength isn't just about how much you can carry. Maybe it's about knowing who it's safe to hand it to. And that choice, that discernment, that's on us. Nobody else can make that decision for you. Guys, we can carry everything that's thrown at us. We are emotional pack mules. We have the ability to carry. Most men. The question that we keep missing is, should we? And do we need to? If asking feels harder than enduring, that's not weakness. That's information. And information is something that a disciplined man uses. And that choice, that discernment, Again, that's on us. Nobody else can make those decisions for you. Maybe the question isn't whether can you endure. Asking whether you're choosing wisely when to. My brothers and sisters, that's all I got for today. Take what's useful. Leave behind what's not. Choose and discern and keep moving.